We're here today talking to Ian Mulholland, Managing Director of Rox Resources. Rox recently announced a 100% increase in its nickel sulphide resources at its flagship Fisher East Nickel Sulphide project in Western Australia. Ian, thank you for your time.
Pleasure.
Ian, your recent announcement about the resource upgrade at Fisher East must be a really exciting result and a great credit to you and the exploration team at Rox.
Oh yes, it is very pleasing to have developed the project to the state that we have in less than 2 years as a real tribute to the dedication and expertise of our exploration team. You know, to have actually drilled out 2 deposits, Campbellwood and now Muscat, in less than 2 years, and to have opened up a brand new province for nickel sulphide exploration is very exciting.
A big part of the Fisher East resource upgrade was the announcement of a maiden resource at the Muscat deposit of 2.1 million tonnes at 1.8% nickel. What does the Muscat result mean for the project going forward?
Well, Muscat demonstrates that we've got more than just one nickel deposit in the system. Our exploration model was always that we'd have more than one deposit. We'd have a camp of deposits like the Kambalda and Cosmos areas. We've demonstrated that with Muscat. So we're very pleased about that, and it demonstrates that the potential for drilling out even more resources is very high.
There is a significant amount of higher grade mineralisation at Muscat. This must greatly improve the economics of mining at Muscat.
Yes, it does. Having that high grade section of the deposit means that there's something that we can get into quite early on in the mine life that will produce a lot of cash. And I remember back to the early days of Cosmos where they had 8% material at Cosmos, and that paid off a lot of the early capital, and we'll have the same opportunity at Muscat.
So Ian, when do you envisage undertaking feasibility studies, and how soon do you think it is before you can get the project into production?
Well, our next step is to do a high-level scoping study where we'll start to have a look at some of the mining and processing options and costs. We'll look at capital costs and so forth. We should have that done in the next couple of months, and then we can be into feasibility studies as early as next year if that work is positive.
The Northern Goldfields region of Western Australia is richly endowed. Where does the Fisher East Nickel Sulphide project sit within its regional setting?
Well, we're in a totally different greenstone belt to the traditional nickel sulphide deposits of Western Australia. So that's very exciting. It's a brand new belt that we've discovered. We're the first company in there. We've got a very strong ground position, and so that gives us a real advantage over our competitors. And to date, our exploration has been very effective. Our discovery cost has been around 4.2 cents a pound, which is one of the lowest in the world.
Ian, you've recently announced that you intend to follow up on 3 high priority drilling targets at Fisher East. Clearly your intention is to continue drilling and exploring before you make a decision to put the project into production.
Well, we think that we're very close to the critical mass required for a development, but more resources gives you more options, especially if you can prove up a number of deposits with different metallurgical and grade characteristics. So yes, we will continue exploring. We think that there's a very strong potential to probably double the resources again, even on what we've got now.
Market conditions have been some of the worst we've seen for junior explorers in recent years. How has Rox responded to those conditions, and when do you expect to see some improvement?
Well, we'll just keep delivering good results, and at some stage the market will turn. There's no doubt that the wider market has been quite bad for exploration companies over the last couple of years. But we've actually had very good support from our shareholders and investors. I think that we're starting to see the signs that the market is starting to turn. There's a little bit of interest returning to the sector, especially supported by the increases in prices of a couple of the key base metals like nickel and zinc, which are 2 of our primary commodity focuses.
Rox has been one of the most successful exploration companies in Australia in recent years, and yet your share price does not seem to have responded accordingly. What are you doing to try and turn that around?
Well, we have a very open share register. We've got a lot of retail shareholders, and they're pretty much trading the stock and taking speculative gains. We're obviously working on getting institutions and funds interested in our story, and if we can get them on board, then hopefully that will tighten up the share register. But having said that, We take a plot of our performance against the Small Resources Index, and we've actually outperformed the index quite considerably this year. Currently we're sitting at about 70% above the index.
Moving on to the Tina Reward Zinc project in the Northern Territory, can you provide an update on the drilling being conducted by Teck at the moment and provide a bit of an update on your own expectations of that drilling?
Okay, so Teck started a drilling program about 2 weeks ago. It's a program of 4,000 metres with the primary objective of defining the limits of the mineralised system. We know that it's a very large mineralised system. We know that the core has some very thick and very high grade material in it, but the purpose of this particular drilling program is to define the overall size of the mineralised system, which we think can be very large.
Ian, you've previously described the Tina Reward Zinc project as one of the 10 best undeveloped zinc projects anywhere in the world. What is it about the project that gives you such confidence and enables you to attract a major player like Teck?
Well, there are only 10 zinc deposits in the world that grade greater than 8% combined lead and zinc and contain more than 12 million tonnes of contained lead and zinc metal. And based on the modelling that we've done and the size estimates that we've made, we think Tina could actually fit into that top 10 group, and that's obviously going to attract a large company like Teck who are looking for world-class Tier 1 deposits.
The third of your 3 base metals project is the Bonya Copper project in the Northern Territory, where you're about to start drilling shortly. Given the strong history of copper production in the area, what are your expectations for the next drilling campaign?
Well, we've developed some quite strong exploration targets at Bonya, geochemical and geophysical, with the geology and mineralisation style very similar to the adjacent Jervois copper deposits, which have attracted a lot of market attention lately. We're quietly confident that the geochemical and geophysical targets do represent copper sulphide mineralisation, and we're eagerly looking forward to the results of our drilling.
The drilling campaign at Bonya is intended to test the depth potential for higher grade mineralisation. When do you anticipate getting the results of the drilling campaign, and what are your expectations?
Well, the drilling should start within the next 1 to 2 weeks. As we drill, we'll have visual indications of the mineralisation that we encounter. Assays should probably come 2 to 3 weeks after the completion of the drilling.
And finally, Ian, what can ROX shareholders expect from the company over the next 6 to 12 months?
Well, there's going to be lots of news flow. At our Fisher East nickel project, now that we've produced the resource update, we're going to be doing that high-level scoping study. We're going to look at some economic options, but we're also going to continue exploration. We hope that we can continue to define more resources and make new discoveries, so there's going to be lots of information coming through on that. At Tina, the drilling is underway there. We expect the first assay results in about 4 to 6 weeks. And then I imagine that we'll have assay results coming from that project probably up until about Christmas time. And at Bonya, in 1 to 2 weeks we'll start drilling. We should have assays 2 to 3 weeks after that. So there's going to be a lot of news flow going and a lot of value to be added for shareholders. And if I have to split my exploration teams between Fisher East and Bonya because we're getting such great results at both projects, that'll be a nice problem to have.
Ian, thank you very much for your time today.
My pleasure.